There it is. What's up,
Oh,
bud?
nothing much.
How you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Nice, nice. I like your little background there. That looks good.
Well, this is it's become a Sooner man cave.
Nice, nice, nice.
Well, have anybody here to stop me, you know what I mean? So, that's over the top. It's a little bit too much. You don't need to go like that. But no, I'm enjoying myself.
Nice, nice. Beautiful day out today.
No kidding.
It is. So I'm here with Rusty Weller. Big time OU fan. Been watching OU football for 50 plus years. Seen the ins, the outs, the goods, the bads. Seen it all. Um,
Much.
I'd like to maybe start out with what are your impressions of this year's squad, Team 128, and just what Coach V is doing with the program right now?
Well, I made a T-shirt today um, about defense. I took his quote that he's going to employ suffocating, physical, what else? Relentless defense. And this man knows wherever he speaks. He has got national titles with this defense. And we're just honored to have this man back at Oklahoma. I mean, he's the defensive guru.
Definitely, definitely a guru. I was reading a stat about Coach V when he was at Clemson. The 10 years he was there, they had over 480 sacks and over 1,100 tackles for a loss.
I think that leads the nation. I
Oh,
saw some,
yeah, that's insane. That's really impressive, man.
and we've got him here. And what I really like about that is that he has been planning his program for years. I'm sure he knew he was going to be a head coach someday, and he had it all. He's refined what he wants and what he knows he needs to have a top-notch program, and he's done it exactly so far, as best I can tell.
Yeah, I really like the recruitment of the big guys up front, the dogs.
And
I mean, that's what it's going to take to compete in the SEC.
that's right.
Yeah,
And I mean, I remember when Barry and the boys used to hang a half a hundred on somebody by halftime. It wasn't all offense. The
yeah,
defense would score. I mean, it was good. The offense would score, would turn the ball over to the other team, and the defense would score. And that's how it should be.
yeah, yeah. Those teams were, man, they had some good defenses back then. I mean, even all the way up to now, they've had big names, big talent. As far as like Wrench's idea of the speed D, I was talking to Wes Sims, and he was talking about how there's just tweeners everywhere because you got a safety that's filling in for a linebacker, but he's 20 pounds underweight, to play linebacker,
Yeah.
and that was just happening way too often.
Well, what we saw is Perion Winfrey.
Yes,
I'm saying his name right.
correct.
Uh, was underutilized or did not wasn't exactly allowed to show what he had
Mm.
in a consistent way. When he went off to the tryouts, he wasn't he the number one guy? Didn't he
Yes,
wasn't most impressive?
he
Well,
was.
yet he wasn't that impressive. As good as he was, he could have been better with Oklahoma had he been properly utilized. And I think it's up to a coach to not just fit players into what he wants, but to use the talent you've got. That was a special player, and we sort of squandered him and others.
Very
And
true.
the one thing I really don't like about the past few years at Oklahoma is that every time Oklahoma went on defense, I think a lot of us cringed.
Yeah.
I mean, we're winning games with other teams scoring in the 30s and 40s. We squandered two Heisman Trophy winners and a runner-up because of defenses that weren't up to par. I know we were waiting for Speed D to come real, but uh, it didn't. And
No,
I think we now have the man who knows how to do national championship defenses.
for sure. And like with the previous coach who took talents to Southern California,
Yes.
It just seemed like he was watering the grass, like where the skill players hang out, and that's not going to win you championships. You got to have them dogs up front and in the trenches, just ready to go,
Right.
and
It. I think, and then if I was the head coach and I was planning my program, I would make sure I had an offensive genius too, and I had in Levy, uh,
yes,
and I'm just totally pleased with everything that I know that Brent Venables has done. His recruiting is just remarkable. In fact, there's supposed to be a couple big get names coming to Oklahoma tonight.
nice. I seen Anthony Evans committed
Yeah.
10.27 100-yard dash. Wow, that's
And what
fast.
is it, a 5 or 4 star?
4-star, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, here's the deal. I think we see down at Texas where they get a lot of 5 stars and high ranked players, yet record it doesn't show on the field. I think it's a matter of player development,
Yep,
and Venables exceeds at developing players.
yep,
And I think that and it's not so much that we want 5s and 4s, we want people who have the right character to do what is needed to be done.
yep,
It's to be a yeoman's work to be able to get ready for the SEC. Yes, they are. While Oklahoma's been competitive with the SEC on a weekly basis, I think Oklahoma needs to be ready.
yep.
And I think they're getting ready.
Oh,
And
most definitely.
I think it's just a matter of time. In fact, I don't know. I've drank the Crimson Kool-Aid
Yep,
all in, and I'm thinking that every now and then lightning strikes. You know what I mean? It could be something that galvanizes a program, maybe a loss of a death or something, or something special. When everybody pulls together, I have seen Oklahoma pull together, even with the Cale Gundy episode.
yeah, yeah.
The rules have been set, and we people are sticking to the rules. It's honest, it's open, it's transparent. It's the way you ought to run a program. If rules are rules and you can't slide, uh, you know,
What's up? You said lightning in a bottle. Just look at LSU 2019. I mean, they haven't done anything since. It's just. I mean, you had a great offense and a great defense that believed in their coach. And I mean that's where it starts. You're only as strong as your head man. And Brent Venables is whole. He's a whole man. He's just he's just
what got me, of course, we all remember. I think I heard him called Chippendale.
yeah.
Uh, with Mike Stoops and Brent on the sidelines, and it was funny while the defense was good, and then the defense wasn't quite so good, and it wasn't funny anymore.
Right.
And then we thought that Brent was fired and Mike was kept, but we know now that wasn't the case. Even that Brent called at his layover on his flight to Clemson and apparently called Bob Stoops and said, "Are you sure? I don't know about this." And Bob said, "No, go ahead, my blessing." So Brent was actually going to a better situation, and Oklahoma, I think, as we saw, wasn't quite as good. Brent went on to have a defense that won national titles, and meanwhile, we were sort of winning by outscoring people.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
don't
I'm
know.
to have defense back.
Yeah, it is. Like I don't know how that 2018 team did not win a national title. I mean, wow. What a squad, man.
Yes, sir. Well, when in the 2000 game, I love to watch that season again.
Yep.
It was magic. I mean, I remember Woolfolk makes the circus catch against
Right.
Nebraska.
Yep.
Yeah, Derek Strait goes straight to the end zone. There's just some magical stuff that happens, and I think magic is happening again.
Yep.
I think these boys are committed. They're just not players. They're that are there for the glory or for the girls or for the great, whatever players come for. They're there to actually do the work. And I think that you can see that in that they've submitted their bodies to Schmitty.
Yeah.
That's saying something. Those players are, well, you've seen, I think, how they've muscled up,
Oh yeah, big
how they've
time.
gained weight in the right way. Uh, and they're going to be animals. They're going to come and tear people's heads off. I think it's going to be wonderful on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Kevin Gillum, he's going to be playing at 294, up from 254 last year.
Yeah.
Like that should tell you right there what kind of the difference in the conditioning coaches right there, man.
Well, I remember last year against Nebraska. Boy, that was tough.
Yeah.
And smash mouth football that we, the Sooners, were not used to. And I'm thinking next year at Nebraska is going to be really tough. Well, I don't think it's going to be quite as tough. It'll be tough, but in Huskerland. But I think the Oklahoma will be much better prepared this time. I think they'll be able to play smash mouth football.
Heck yeah. I was at that game actually, the OU Nebraska game last year, and I got to meet Barry Switzer. That was really sweet. I talked to him for a couple minutes, and got done talking. He's all, "Thanks, Robert." And I looked at my mom like, "How does he know my name? He don't know me." And she points at my shirt, and I had a name tag on my shirt.
Okay. Well, Barry's a good politician. He knows how to please people and make impressions. But he remembered my name too in a very nice way.
Nice.
When I worked at the Daily Oklahoman, one of my duties was to stop by the OU practice and talk with the coach.
Nice.
And I would, on my days off, I would take my son, a little toddler, and I would put him over by the equipment away from the action where he wasn't possibly get hurt. And I really could see what was going on. I don't think as a newsman I was really supposed to be watching the practice. But then Barry would come over, and a few times he'd actually pick up my son and sort of toss him,
nice.
And coo and all that with him while I asked the questions for just a few 5 minutes. But as a result of that, I guess he knew my name. I was in the slot. In other words, I was putting the newspaper together the night that the Kerry Jackson case broke. And we all of us who were putting the newspaper together on various nights had his number, unlisted number in our wallets because things broke after hours. Right. And Kerry Jackson, you remember that case? That was where the transcript was fixed and OU was busted and put on probation.
Right.
And I heard about it, and somebody said, "Uh-oh, you got it." And so I had to. That means we're going to have to shake up that newspaper. Everything had to be remade. That was a big story. So I called Barry with an unlisted number and said, "Yep." He says it's true. Later, I'm out in Phoenix working for the Arizona Republic, and the Sooners were coming to the Fiesta Bowl, and there was something, wasn't that crucial, but they really needed to get a hold of Barry for some reason, and nobody could reach him. And I said, "Well, have you tried his unlisted number?" And they go, "Oh, yeah, right." And I said, "Well," I just opened up the little flap of my wallet, pulled it out, said, "Here you go, guys." So they thought I knew him. I really didn't know him all that well, but Barry's a good man. So when the team flew into Sky Harbor, the airport in Phoenix, it was back then they just had stairs that they wheeled out to the airplane. And so Barry, he's coming out, and people around me from the Arizona Republic are saying, "Hey, there's your buddy Barry." I go, "Oh, I hope he remembers me, because if he doesn't know me from Adam, I'm going to sort of like an idiot."
Right.
But he's walking toward me, goes, "Hi, Rusty." I go, "Oh, whew, that was great."
Nice. That's good stuff, man.
Good guy.
I got to meet Johnny the Jet Rogers too. That was pretty cool.
I really would like to talk with them, but I was at the game of the century.
Nice.
With Nebraska, and I had a sideline pass. They didn't allow me in the press box because I was the sports editor at Ardmore, Oklahoma at the time. That's not high when it's a nationally important
right
game. But I used to work in sports information under Harold Keith, and he was still the man in charge, the great white father of sports information offices. And he, because I worked for him, he slipped me a sidelines pass. Well, that day, a blue norther blew in, and I wasn't expecting, I hadn't known what the weather was going to be. So I wasn't wearing a heavy jacket. In
Mm.
fact, I didn't have a jacket at all. So, and now that I had tickets to the game for myself and my wife, but with a sideline pass, I took my mother-in-law. She wasn't a bad mother-in-law, as mother-in-laws go. So there I am, and I've got my wife and mother-in-law in the stands, and I'm about ready to go down to the sideline, and I'm freezing. And so instead, they pushed themselves apart. I sat between them, and they put their arm out of each side of their coat next to me, and put it around me so that I would stay warm. And I watched the game um, with my wife and mother-in-law sandwiched around me. And Johnny Rogers makes the great touchdown run, and Nebraska wins. And I shuck the coats and I go to the Sooner locker room. And I was hoping to get to Nebraska too, but no, it was too much to go. Uh, there was a lot of talk after that game.
So, what's your biggest memory? Your most memorable moment from Oklahoma football history?
I guess it would be what the defining moment. I was a really big football fan for Friday nights under the
Mm.
lights at Midwest City. I'm a
Nice.
bomb, and their program was very very good back then, and so I was going to all the games. Um, as a senior in high school, my sister, who was 4 years older and was at OU, invited me to my first OU game. And I don't know, I mean, if you've ever seen the old stadium,
Yeah.
it was dank, dark, smelled, didn't have any advertising. They didn't have anything down there. It's just dark. And the best thing you do is just sort of hurry through it. And then you go up that ramp in the dark and you're heading toward that little square of light. And finally, when you get to the top, I stood out there in the bright sunlight. The band was playing, the cheerleaders were flipping, the players were doing the warm ups. It was just colorful. I remember saying to myself, man, I got to be a part of this. What I meant was a student, you know. I was looking forward to going back there and being a student and really fully participating in this football program. It turned out to be better than that.
Nice, nice, man. Nice. Yeah, I remember my first OU game was I believe it was 94 OU in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was it was like 13-10, I believe, was the final on that game. And it was all rainy. It was just terrible out. And but OU shut Lawrence Phillips down. It was like that dude was a stud. Yeah.
I remember a game that I don't know what year it was, but it was 18-9 over Texas with Mike Vachon kicking the field goal, and then 10-9 with Mike Vachon kicking the winning field goal against Nebraska. And I think they were number one ranked that year at the
Nice.
time.
Nice.
And so that happened with Bob Warmack was the quarterback, and those guys I knew from a lot of locker room work that I sort of got friends with. I rarely had a friend among the players. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
treated them, right. And I think once you get friendly with somebody, it's not really as good as a news source. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's better. I played the role as best I could, and we were taught well. We were taught to be, even though we wrote about the Sooners for Sooner fans, we were taught to be fair.
Yeah.
If Johnny Rogers did a great thing, say so.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
be just about it and honest and not biased. Yeah, of course you're going to play up the Sooners. Yeah, that's what everybody wants to hear. But you're not going to decry the other team or ignore or snub the other team in any way. That's what we were taught to be that way.
For sure. Respect your opponent and give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
for sure. And then I went to in the '96. I went to Nebraska OU again in Norman because me and my dad, my pop would take me every other year to Nebraska OU, and that's the year that they were getting beat up. It was like 77-0, I think,
Mm.
in the fourth quarter. And my dad's like, "Hey, we gotta go." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. We've been here through 4 quarters of thrashing. We're gonna stay till the end." And Damon Parker busted off 3 touchdown runs in the fourth quarter to avoid the goose egg. But he was a pretty underrated Sooner.
Yeah. Now, see, I when I was a student, my first year was Gomer Jones 5-5,
Mm.
and we were sort of optimistic. Bud Wilkinson's teams has sort of trailed off. They were not as glorious as earlier, and of course, he then retired and turned it over to Gomer, and Gomer it just didn't work.
Mm.
And I remember Gale Sayers
Mm.
when the Sooners were at Kansas. I didn't see it, but I heard it on the radio. Gale Sayers scored on the opening play and the closing play
Nice.
of the game. I think the score may have been 14-0. I don't. I just remember that it was a really tough year, and then came Jim Mckenzie, and Jim. I mean, everybody remembers about Chuck Fairbanks as being a great coach
Yeah.
to get Oklahoma going again, but it was Jim Mckenzie who actually put the program on the map. Then he'd had a heart attack and died after his first season. But I mean, he would have been great. He was great. He was the one who put the iconic crimson helmet.
Okay.
Before
Okay.
that, before that, it had just been a white helmet with a red stripe down the middle. That's what Bud had been using.
Ah, nice.
And
So it was Gomer Jones for a year,
a
and
couple
then
years,
Jones for a year. Oh, a couple years.
yeah, a couple years, and then Chuck came in. I don't exactly remember all.
Cool.
Yep. But I remember being there at the time because I was working in sports information that day. That they called in the press and showed off the uniforms, and I mean there was somebody from the Sporting News. Is that still publishing? I don't remember, but
I think
uh,
so.
he was there, and of course I was impressed, and I was listening to him talk, and about that time they're scrimmaging, and some Sooners run past with flash with the helmets, and the guy says, "Wow, they look just like Arkansas," and that was a high compliment at the time because Arkansas was kicking
Oh,
Texas in the
yeah.
Southeast Conference,
Yeah.
and the Hogs were good, and to be compared, I mean, Oklahoma was that low that it was a compliment to be said to look like Arkansas.
Wow.
But Oklahoma got better.
Yeah. Wasn't Barry a hog?
I don't remember. Maybe, yeah, he came from Arkansas, probably.
I think he was a graduate assistant there with Jimmy Johnson.
Could be.
But yeah. I was talking with Jason Belser here a while back, and he was talking to me about the shooting that happened on campus.
Yeah,
Do you remember that?
not particularly.
I guess another player shot another player on accident.
When was this?
It had to been it was Jason Belcher's freshman year, so it was like '88.
Oh, all kinds of stuff happened back then.
Yeah,
Hmm.
man, it
I
was
mean,
so bad.
it was really hard to defend Barry because of what he did. Now, I believed he did a good thing. He gave some problem players a chance to clean up their act and straight up fly right.
Yep.
Well, a lot did, but some didn't.
Right.
And they got arrested, and, they did things that are criminal.
Yeah.
And Barry had to discipline him. And I don't think he winked all that much, but the players did some things. Yes, I don't know about that. I remember about the shooting. See, I was out of state for some time at the
Okay.
Arizona and other places, so it was hard for me to be totally in touch with Oklahoma in all the years.
Yeah, I know. I know. I felt some type of way about Kenyon Rashid when all that stuff went down, but I mean, I guess I'm over it now. It's just it's a bad deal. I lived in Kerr Village actually, where all that stuff went down. It was pretty wild, man.
Well, I'm going to be surprised if we hear the same things coming out of this year's Sooners. I don't think, I think that what part of the recruiting is to get players that fit,
Mm-hmm.
not just in talent, but in attitude. Players that are willing they're stars. They're big frogs on small ponds. And a lot of them come in to the big pond and they're in the big lake and therefore think they're a star. Well, they're not yet.
Right.
Some are, of course, but not yet. And what they really need to do is develop if they're going to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
And Smitty and Brent and the coaching staff are going to do just that. And I think they've got players who are going to be submit to coaching and be developed by
Yep.
coaches who know exactly how to develop them,
Yep.
have proven track records. And that's it. I'm really thinking that, you know, Brent is only taking, he's not just taking players because they seem to have talent on the films. I think he looks into their hearts,
Yep.
he studies their minds, and he makes sure that they are going to be a beneficial person, not just to bless the program, but to be blessed in return by this program.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. You can hear like I can hear the commitment, like especially if I hear or I'm listening to Ethan Downs or Danny Stutzman or Dylan Gabriel, you can just hear it in their voice. You know, they're so committed to the University of Oklahoma.
And they're doing the things off the field that uncommon men are supposed to do. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
Correct.
I think they're almost emissaries for the program, and they've only been there for a few months.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's really Brent has studied the best programs, and I think he's learned and shucked the stuff that doesn't work. He's treasured the stuff that does, and he's got the people now to make it happen. I'm
Yeah.
going to be surprised if this isn't just a super successful season.
I'm totally on board with you, Rusty. Totally on board. Um, like it's like he's like a strategist, I guess is the word I was looking for. He like every move is calculated. It's just the little things is what it is to be great. Like do a bunch of little things well is to be great.
And passion. You gotta
Mm,
want it. You gotta have it. You're willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, in a good way, to achieve your goal.
yeah.
And that's a national
Sacrifice.
championship. I mean, I know that is up there.
Yep.
They have to be
Sacrifice.
talking about it to what's it going to take to get into the playoffs and actually not just get embarrassed in the playoffs, but actually win
Yeah.
a national title. He knows Clemson has done it.
Yep. Yep.
I couldn't, Clemson wasn't all that good before
No.
Dabo and Brent went there. They started winning. So, and I think a lot of that is at Oklahoma now, and then some more because Brent has been around. He's
Right.
seen, he knows, and I think he's doing the absolute best um, program.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
I'm
like
really pleased. I couldn't be happier with it.
oh, I'm with you. You're talking about the stars or whatever. The stars, those go out the window the minute you step onto that college campus.
Right.
Yeah, I don't care if you're a 5 star or 2 star. If you have a 2 star with a 5 star work ethic, you're gonna win over a 5 star with a 2 star work ethic.
Well, we all know high school programs sometimes aren't the fairest, uh, where they properly use the talent, and develop the players.
Right.
There's a lot of guys who come out of high school who I've got a lot of unknown potential, but if their heart and mind are in the right place, they can be developed. They've got the basic talent; they just don't have the coaching yet. And Brent's going to coach him. You've seen his practices. I mean, he's out there working harder, I think, than some of the players.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He shows that passion everything he does,
Yeah.
and it's got to be infectious. You need something like that passion when it's in the fourth quarter and the going gets tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I think that there is some winnability going on in Oklahoma right now.
For sure. It's like he said, getting rid of the insidious behavior. I love that, man. Just walking by a piece of trash, or like not bringing your notebook to the meeting, stuff like that. You need to just get that out of there.
I think you've got it. I mean, Brent has set up something that, and there are rules and expectations, and they're not sliding on it. Nobody's getting, because you're the fair-haired boy, or you're the 5-star, or you're the number one, or one. Nobody's getting that free pass, as I've been understanding what's happening in the program. All are having to work for it.
Right.
And I think all of them are submitting. I haven't heard of any problems with anybody in practice yet.
Mm-mm.
I think they're getting after it. I'm just totally impressed.
Heck yeah. Well, I gotta get going here, man. But
Anytime.
I wanted to end with a who, what, and a why.
Okay.
So for the who, if you could Oklahoma drill against anybody in your prime, who would you Oklahoma drill against?
Wow. Well, somebody who'd totally wipe me out, I guess, would be the boss.
Nice, nice. He was
I
amazing.
I really don't know a lot of the players on defense. Let's face it, when you're out of state and you're watching highlights, replays, or something like that, this is the day before YouTube.
Yeah,
You couldn't see the games. The best you could hope for was some highlights on the sports channel. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And so you didn't really. So I'd hear about good defensive players, but I seldom got to see them. So that's that. I had to go with the boss. I'm
Heck
sure
yeah.
probably made me insulting to some of the others.
So
I did insult Teddy Lehman. He was on a podcast, and he was offering a T-shirt that had him on it, and it looked to me like he was a kicker because his foot was up in the air and he was holding the ball out.
yeah,
I stupidly did not know that is an iconic image of him the ball and going in the end zone to score the touchdown that Oklahoma needed to beat Texas 14-3.
nice.
And it was Superman Roy Williams who flew across the line to hit the ball out of Sim's hand
Yeah.
and to Teddy. I had to buy that T-shirt because so now he wasn't that offended, but a lot of other in Sooner Nation knew what I had done. That was quite a slam, and I apologize for that. I was there, and I made a T-shirt that says that it has his image on it and says that's a touchdown, and I was there. I
Nice.
was a game. We I don't know if you have the time, but one thing my wife did, she was a great Sooner fan, and we went to when Texas was getting blown out. We lived in Dallas, not far from the Cotton Bowl, and one year Texas was getting blown out really bad by halftime, and so we went there to the state fair just to have fun with the celebration and at halftime. And so we're there before this is a second half starts, and she's in a walker, and the place was fairly deserted because of the game. I was looking around, and about that time there was a big cheer, and I thought, oh no, my fear was that Texas would mount a comeback. And so I wanted to know what the cheer was for. I started looking for somebody with a little radio, couldn't find anybody. So my wife decides, she starts hobbling up the ramp into the stadium in the end zone. And she gets about a third of the way up, and a lady at the top says, "Hey, come on up. You're missing the game." And so she hobbles on up to the very top. And the lady now looks down at me, and I'm going, what is going on? And she says, "Is he with you?" And she goes, "Yeah." And she says, "Well, come on, mister. You're missing the game." So they wave us in to end zone seats, and we watch the game.
Nice.
Well, the next year, we're thinking, let's go at the beginning of the game and see if that works. Because tickets are pretty high,
Oh
you
yeah.
could. So sure enough, we actually cheated our way illegally into the Cotton Bowl with her walker
Nice.
beginning of that game. And that was the 14-3 game.
Nice.
That was
Hey,
sort didn't expect to see it. I saw it. It was a great victory with a great play, and I'm very happy with that.
Nice.